says, disturbing. Couple who adopted 5 black children to use them as slaves were sentenced to a combined 375 years in prison. Holy shit.
Boy, the video of children. Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor.
What the fuck?
In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to it.
So even when they reached out to like Child Protective Services, they were like, we don't are you saying that these 2 parents are using black kids as slaves? Yeah, we don't. We'll get to it when we can. You know what I'm saying? My schedule is full. I'm actually supposed to be having lunch right now. Then after that, I have to go to the park and walk my dog. So my schedule is completely full right now. I just can't. I don't have the time to go check on these people and check on these kids. I don't have the time. You know what I'm saying? They're being used as slaves, you say? Huh? So anyway, I got to go to lunch and walk my dog. But anyway.
Residents together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo camera saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd.
I know.
You're okay.
The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with 2 of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs. Often Lance would describe physical punishment where he said he, quote, knocked one of them. We saw one text where Lance said, quote,
somebody didn't say thank you and the sandwiches disappeared.
Somebody didn't say thank you and his sandwiches disappeared. We also saw more video from Whitefeather's phone from their time in Washington that also showed yelling and physical abuse from Lance.
That's fucking
a finance expert
bro.
from the West Virginia Fusion Center, Alyssa Ledbetter, also took the stand on Friday. She broke down the adoption payments Whitefeather and Lance received from Minnesota. She said in total of what they analyzed from 2019 to 2023, the 2 received about $318,000 in adoption support payments, but she testified this didn't tell the whole story.
Well, the assistance began in June of 2018, and I only had from
I have no clue what she's saying.
2019 to November of 2023, so altogether we're missing about 18 months.
All of this leading up to the most harrowing testimony so far on Friday afternoon from someone who lived it. We were not allowed to film or record the victims who will
You're telling me this shit all happened during Black History Month? These people went and said, you about to really live Black history. They adopted some black kids and made them work as slaves and barely fed them. And pretty much like gave them horrible living conditions. No bed, just a tarp. And when you wake up, put your hands on your head and don't move or whatever. And if you don't say thank you, your sandwiches disappeared. Bro, fuck these people, bruh. Fuck those 2 people, bruh. Okay, I just gotta remember they got a combined prison sentence of 375 years.
Testify in this case, but were in the room as the teen girl, now 18, but 16 at the time, shared what her life was like both in Washington State and in Sissonville. She said life progressively got worse with Whitefeather and Lance once they moved to the ranch in Washington in 2019. This is when the outdoor labor began, she said, and the physical punishments that included hits from a PVC pipe. While under a child services investigation there in Washington, eventually they moved to Sissonville, but she did not know why. She talked about how CBS was called soon after they arrived in West Virginia, and she detailed a visit from a worker who stayed on the porch and talked to them through the screen door. The The teen testified she was not honest with CPS because Lance could hear her from where she was standing. Eventually, she and her teen brother, who has several mental health disorders, were locked in a shed in August of 2023. She said she went without a shower for 2 months and never changed clothes. She went from sleeping on a mattress to the floor with a sleeping bag. Her brother slept on the concrete floor with only cardboard at his head. She said she was forced to be his babysitter, but testified he was never the dangerous, violent kid that Lance and Whitefeather made him out to be. She recalled the use of physical violence, pepper spray, and racial slurs from Lance and Whitefeather. She recalled also being scared when police arrived at the shed, worried that she would say something to upset Whitefeather. Some of her more emotional moments came during cross-examination by Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants.
What kind of background checks did they have to go through? And like, is there a way to like improve the background checks that we can find out? I guess there's not really a way to find out if a person's racist before you let them adopt a black kid. But damn, bruh. This is some sick, even now in 2026, bro. In 2026, we still gotta deal with this shit. Now white people are acting like it's okay to say the N-word.
At one point, he referred to Whitefeather as her mother, and she quickly corrected him. He questioned why some of her interviews before this contradicted what she said on the stand, but when Tuck asked her why she felt comfortable telling the truth now, she said, "Because I know I won't have to go back to that."
That's sad, man. That is sad. Even now, in 2026, we're still dealing with racism. Still. And of course, it's not as open as it used to be. It's still closeted, and we're still going to be dealing with it for decades to come until we finally until something finally happens to allow us to get past all of this. But I don't know, man. I just can't believe. I'm still in disbelief. I don't know why I'm in disbelief. Of course it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But like, it feels like no matter how many years pass, it's nothing. When it comes to racism, it doesn't really. We don't really see any change. You know, we don't really see any change like you do with most things. That when change happens, it changes. I guess maybe racism is just a very slow change to deal with before it actually completely goes away. We need people like those two parents that adopted the black kids. We need them to die off quickly. We need them to die off like now. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't need them trying to raise other kids to continue the racism and the hate and the bigotry. It's so fucked.